Hello and welcome to Catching Up with Council. I'm your host, Dan Monroe. My guest today, Ward 2 Councilman Kevin Bishop. Councilman, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me, Dan. Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
How long have you been on council? When did you first get elected?
Well, this is my second term. So I'm in the first year of my second term. So I've served 4 years. I want to say this, that my first term, the first 4 years that I served, I felt like I was a little shortchanged by the pandemic. So we were away from City Hall. City Hall was closed down. Basically, the whole United States were closed down. So I feel like I was shortchanged just a little bit by the pandemic. But I'm glad to be reelected. I'm glad to serve the citizens of Cleveland.
I remember that pretty much you saw your fellow council persons through Zoom and through computer screens.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 council members came on the council during the pandemic, and we met at a fundraiser one time, and we didn't even know each other. She's like, "Oh, who are you?" I'm like, "I'm your colleague." So, but yeah, it was a trying time. It was a time that we were all kind of shocked and educated at the same time. So yeah, that was a time on council that I wish I could have got back.
But I'm wondering if you learned something, thanks to the pandemic. I shouldn't say thanks, but I wonder if you learned something different about how to be a council person, even through trying times. What did you learn from your first term that you want to take on to your second?
Well, I think, you know, when you become a public official, nobody hands you a playbook or employee's manual or how to do the job. So you got to figure it out on your own. So just learning the finances of the city, how the city operates, what's important, what can we ensure to make sure the city stays healthy financially is the most important thing that we can actually learn as a council member. And the first term is tough because it's a lot of stuff coming at you. The city's budget is very complex. So just to learn and to make sure that we safeguard the city's finances and keep them safe and keep the citizens, the delivery of service to the citizens is paramount.
And I'm sure too, once you're elected, the constituents are still calling, okay, what are you going to do now? Can you help me with this? That just starts right there.
I'll tell you what, the thing that I learned the most is the balancing act. It's how to be at meetings, how to respond to your constituents, stay sensitive to their needs, and at the same time, do your job.
What are your goals for the next term that you're in?
Well, I think I want to focus more so on my community, moving my community forward. I think the pandemic has showed us a lot of things that we can work on as far as getting everybody on a digital platform so we can stay connected. I think one of the things that the pandemic that showed us that we are, you know, when we lose some time like that with our children, we can't get that back. Sure. So we got to go out and get our communities connected to and kind of close that digital divide.
I do want to learn more about your communities, but first of all, in council, you're the chair of the Municipal Services and Properties Committee. What is that and what is its function? Well,
basically, we oversee public works and the Office of Mayor's capital projects. So it's a very important committee. It's a committee that deals with mainly service delivery. So it's very important to the residents because nobody has a problem until your trash isn't picked up. When your grass isn't cut, that's major in a lot of neighborhoods, and in my neighborhood is major. So this is a committee that oversees the public works, and public works houses recreation, streets, parks maintenance. Public works house many departments. So it's a very large committee.
What's the biggest project your committee is working on now, or any other projects, or what are some of the challenges you're facing?
Well, I tell you what, every year we have teardowns. And as we get these teardowns, our vacant lots inventory grows. And we have to keep up with that demand. So we have to cut those vacant lots. So we have to keep an eye on, what's our current situation and what will it be next year and what will be the year after. So we have to focus on, in my community, the big thing in summertime is getting these lots and this grass cut. We have a lot of vacant lots and a lot of high grass. So that's paramount. To make sure we get this grass cut. So we are going to be working on looking at, are we adequately, sufficiently revved up to meet the demand to cut the grass in the summertime? Are we taking into consideration the vacant lot inventory that's increasing on a year-to-year basis? So those type of things that we're worried about. Also, the recreation department and the cut hours of the pools this summer was very concerning. So we need to look at that to make sure that we can keep our pools open for our residents and our children to recreate properly during the hot summer months. With global warming, we don't know if next summer is going to be hotter than this summer, so we got to get prepared.
Because of the pandemic that we talked about, cities like Cleveland, we received ARPA funding. Your committee is also big in deciding how that funds are to be used?
Yes.
I know there's still money from the first disbursement, and we still have money from the second. How are you working out where that money goes, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I tell you what, it's a lot of different voices in City Hall that's saying we need to put money here, we need to put money there. But I think we need to go back to the basics and focus on the residents. Focus on what the residents need. A lot of groups and a lot of organizations around town have their bid in to get part of that funding. But we need to go back to the basics and really see what Clevelanders really need and really want, and what they suffered during the pandemic, and we try to help them through this hardship they suffered through the pandemic. So I think focusing on basic things like home repairs, tear downs, utilities, helping folks with their utilities. I think basic things like that will take this city a long way.
When you said all the different voices, I thought it has to be difficult to filter out all the different voices to really focus on where this ARPA should go.
Yeah. Everybody thinks their cause should be at the number one spot, and quite frankly, we need to spread it around, and we need to sit down and evaluate it and say, what's best for Cleveland, not just what's best for these organizations, but what's best for Clevelanders, what's best for the future of Cleveland, and how can we make Cleveland a stronger place, safer place, a place where we can raise our children, a place where somebody wants to move to.
Live, work, do business, everything.
Yeah, that's important.
Let's look at Ward 2. What are the communities in Ward 2?
Well, we have a couple of distinct communities. We have Mount Pleasant, we have Slavic Village, part of Slavic Village, and we have Union Miles. But Union Miles comprise most of Ward 2, with Mount Pleasant and Slavic Village coming up in second and third. So we have 3 different communities there. We also have what they used to call a Corlett community. Community names have changed, so to speak, over time. But we used to have a community was called Corlett, but it's nestled right in the Mount Pleasant community.
All right. Well, I know with your communities, you're really focused on helping your residents with home improvements. I know some of the houses are getting up there in age.
Yes.
How can ARPA funds help with that?
Well, I think the basic things like porches, gutters, windows, things like that. I think residents, if painting, assistance in painting, things like that. If we can encourage and help residents through those minor home repairs, I think it'll go a long way for the community as a whole. It'll cut down on some of the code enforcement chores that we need to be focused on. So I think it will bring the community up and make people feel better. One thing about my community, one thing I'm really, really sensitive about is how clean the community is. We need to clean our community. We need to be more cognizant of keeping our community cleaner. We need to cut down on our illegal dumping. I would like to see more enforcement with illegal dumping. I'd like to see we get more aggressive on that, because that's a big thing. You can't focus on your quality of life when you have trash everywhere. So I think some of those things are paramount for us to focus on going forward.
I know one thing with keeping a clean community, it can't just lie on one council person. It needs the whole community to come together. How is your community working to help report illegal dumping and just keep their city clean, their neighborhood clean?
Well, I tell you what, there's always room for improvement. I encourage my residents to get out and pick up trash when they can, if they are able to. Join the local CDC. We have a lot of community cleanup days. I put dumpsters out throughout the ward. help their neighbor. I think if we become a nicer, friendlier community, I think it'll go a long way. Help the neighbor, keep your property together, and make sure your neighbor is okay.
Let's move on to park space in Ward 2. It's always crucial for people just to get out and enjoy the fresh air, the sunshine. Talk about the parks in your community and if there's any redevelopment or improvements going on at these parks.
Well, we have a major park improvement that we just completed about 2 years ago, and that has uplifted that part of the ward, that community, tremendously. The park is being used. We put a new splash pad in off of Miles and 108th, between 108th and 110th. We just had a big event at that park. The Miles reunion is what they call it. So it is bringing the community together in a common space. The children is there. If you go down to that park, the children is there in the splash pad. So it creates a sense of community, a sense of togetherness, and gives folks an alternative to being in their yards. So it gives them an extra space. We also have another park that's being renovated this year, Glendale Park, and we are very excited about that. We're going to improve that park, and we're going to do a facelift on that park, and it's going to do a tremendous. It's going to be a tremendous shot in the arm to the residents on 149th and 147th and 151st in that quadrant of our ward, our eastern part of our ward.
How much of the Metro Parks go through your ward?
Well, we do have a big Metro Park footprint near our Slavic Village part of our ward. The Metro Parks come behind Mill Creek, and it goes up, and it's a park out there. We also have the Falls down there, and the Falls is one of the best kept streets on the east side. Matter of fact, in this Northeast Ohio, it's one of the largest falls in the state of Ohio, and it's right in Ward 2.
Really?
Yes.
And anyone can just come down there and enjoy?
Anybody can come to the falls. Yeah.
I'm
Anybody
there.
can come to the falls.
I love it. I'm there. I understand a group of fellow council persons in the southeast side have come together to work on projects in the area, projects and programs. What can you tell me about that, about this collaboration?
Well, it's in the early stages, I got to say that. So we're still trying to iron that thing out. But it's important that members work together that's in adjoining wards. So we've made a commitment to work together. We've made a commitment to improve the southeast side. So we are trying to figure out what that looks like. We are trying to address some of the issues with our CDCs and make them more effective in dealing with some of the residents and delivering services and just get the residents engaged, the community engagements of the residents up. We want to increase that. But we have a monthly meeting that we meet and we talk about strategies where we can make the southeast side better.
How important is community feedback in all of this?
Community feedback is absolutely at the top of the list, and we've had our sessions to bring in the community to talk about what the community sees and their vision for the future. So we had those discussions, and we're going to continue to have those discussions on an ongoing basis.
You mentioned CDC, that's the Community Development Corporations,
Yes.
and I know you work very closely with the Union Miles CDC.
Yes.
Talk about the different programs and services they offer your residents.
Okay. I just want to mention that we just had a festival in Ward 2 this past weekend. It was a tremendous success. We had a great turnout. People came out and had a great time. We're going to continue to have those things on a yearly basis. I'm looking forward to next year with some of the planning. But I tell you what, the CDC over at Union Miles is doing great things. We have training programs there. We have programs to help people that want interested in starting a business. We have our working futures to provide folks that's coming from prison opportunities to get trained to be able to start businesses and to educate them in the landscaping business. So we have quite a few programs at Union Miles that we are proud of and that we want to see grow.
Speaking of businesses, how important is it, or how do you help incubate new entrepreneurs to start a business in Ward 2 and help them thrive?
Well, I think the first thing and the main thing is to get the word out on the street that this service is offered. This service is available. This services are free. We just opened a new technology center in the Earl B. Turner Recreation Center. We are very, very excited about that. I was there yesterday, and it's an awesome space, and I encourage all of my residents to go down and take a look at it. We're going to have some exciting things in the future when it comes to training for technology for the jobs of the future. We want our children to take full advantage of that. So it's being powered and offered by Jumpstart and Verizon. So it's a great asset to the community, and I think we need to take full advantage of it. And I'm going to do my part to promote this in my newsletter to get folks to come out. We're going to put our schedule, we're going to put our offerings of that center in our newsletter so everybody is aware and they can take full advantage of this service.
You know, you're so right. Technology is so important nowadays, and if you don't have it, you fall further and further behind.
Yes.
Are there ways that you can help people in your ward who just don't have that technology, maybe to get some internet access or get something to get them on the right path?
Well, we have another organization in our ward called Theo Bowman Center. They're doing a great job with training folks and bringing them up to speed on technology, especially our seniors. So I encourage everybody that if you are interested, don't be shy. Come out. I know a lot of folks kind of shy away from stuff because, you know, when you don't know much about something, you kind of shy away from it. But, you know, we all have to get caught up to speed. This technology wasn't there when we were kids. There's a lot of us. Now, the kids, the technology was there and it's easy for them to grasp. But as an adult, if the technology wasn't around when you were a kid, you're going to be behind. So you got to have a little catch up. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I don't know anything about technology. We have the training in place at the Theo Bowman Center. We're going to offer stuff through the Earl B. Turner Recreation Center. So it's an opportunity for us to get caught up.
Even me, I'm still trying to stay caught up with everything in tech. It changes every day. You know. What are some of the challenges facing your ward today?
I think the challenges facing my ward is the challenges facing the Clevelanders all over the city of Cleveland. And that's crime, and that's safety. I think we all want to see a more responsive police department. I think that and what I want to say about the police department is that we support the police. We support the police. We support them improving in our community. We support them coming into our community, engaging with our community. So this stuff the media has played with the friction between the police and the public, I think that's just a small subset of the overall picture. We support the police, and we want the police in our neighborhood, and we welcome the police. We welcome a more aggressive stance from the police. We got issues that we want solved, quality of life issues, like we have drag racing and speed racing all the time. We have these spin-outs folks are doing in the street. Traffic enforcement, we want to see a more robust traffic enforcement effort. So so our main focus is one of our main issues is safety, and just living in a community that we feel safe in.
The police can't be everywhere at all times in any ward. How important are block clubs, crime watch groups, and things like that?
Well, ultimately, they're important. The safety in our community is in our hands. We want to support the police, but we have to take responsibility of our own community. We cannot punt that away to the police. That's our chief responsibility. So for folks to stay engaged, keep a watchful eye on the community, report crimes as they occur, call the police and actually give them intelligence that they may not have otherwise is paramount. And I think that I want to encourage my residents to keep vigilant, join a block club, get involved with your street club, talk to your neighbor, get you a circle. You know, we got this thing called group text. We can have neighborhood group text. Hey, this car is right here is something to watch on 148th Street. Let's keep an eye on this car. I saw this car. He was suspicious. You can send that out to your neighbors in a group text. It keeps everybody informed. or I saw a suspicious man walking down near the 3400 block of this street. Keep an eye out. So I think things like that will go a long way in just keeping the community safe, keeping the community together, and have everybody feel like they are a part of something that's great.
And I think too, staying in constant contact with your neighbors.
Yes.
You know you know who your neighbors are. You know who's usually in your neighborhood.
Yes.
Have a constant dialogue going about what's happening.
Yes. Yes.
One thing I hear a lot in the news is also all around Cleveland is affordable housing. Talk about that in your wards. How are rents doing? How are you able to keep affordable housing and maybe even bring in some new housing?
Well, we hopefully with the ARPA funding, we'll get a portion of that ARPA funding to put up some new housing that we expect to be affordable. Also, we can start on the path of building wealth with home ownership. So we are looking for some ARPA funding to help spur some of the development of new housing, to create new housing starts, and to create opportunities where folks can live in decent, affordable housing in Ward 2 and throughout the city. And I think that's important for us to develop a sense of neighborhood pride with home ownership. So hopefully with the ARPA fundings, we can get some houses built in Ward 2, and we can get some houses built in surrounding communities on the southeast side, so we can start to develop a more sense of a community with pride of home ownership, and develop some kind of a wealth program and develop wealth in our community.
How do you stay in contact with your constituents? How are you always out there with them? What do you do to stay in contact with them?
Well, I'm out in the community quite often. I am a big bike rider, and I ride my bike throughout the ward quite often. Folks see me say all the time, "Councilman, I saw you on your bike. You came over on your bike several months ago." So I keep in contact through there. A lot of visits to residents, and also we answer our phones. We answer our phones. So my residents, you know, they are comfortable calling in, and a lot of them give me invitations to come by and stop by.
Some people I notice might be leery or afraid to reach out to a council person. Might think, hey, my problems don't affect the council person, my councilman, but they could be wrong. All it takes is a phone call, or even you take emails, text, phone calls. You know,
yeah, we
like
take emails, we take the whole gamut. And I just want to say to any of my residents that's listening, you can always call my office. We are here to help you, and we are here to serve you. And you are the reason why we answer the phone.
And what's that phone number?
216-664-4945.
Right. Earlier in the show, you mentioned the falls, the big falls in your ward. It got me thinking, what are some of the other gems in Ward 2? Or what's something about Ward 2 that people might not even know who've never been to your area?
Like I said, we have the falls. We have all of our schools in Ward 2 are brand new schools. That's one thing a lot of communities can't say. We have brand new parks in Ward 2, and we're going to be getting another park in Ward 2. We have outdoor swimming pools. We have a lot of places where we can recreate. So Ward 2 has some gems. We don't have the big institutions like some wards have, but we are still a bedroom type community. Okay.
I like it. And talk about the makeup of Ward 2. Do you have different nationalities? Do you have different? How do you nurture cultures? How do you nurture different ethnicities and appreciate that and show it off?
Well, the majority of our residents are of color, but we do have a percentage of our ward that's white. But the makeup of I think that's I don't think is there any other groups that I can mention that has a presence in Ward 2, but I want to change that.
Okay.
I would love to. Ward 2 is welcome to all folks. If you want to come to Ward 2, if you have the desire to move someplace in the city, Ward 2 is welcoming.
Well, you heard it, sir, from Councilman Kevin Bishop. The welcome mat is out in Ward 2.
Yes.
Come on over, check out those falls. I'm heading over there myself. I have to see that. Councilman Kevin Bishop, thank you so much for joining me today. We learned a lot about Ward 2 and everything going on in council. And I want to thank you for watching Catching Up with Council. I'm Dan Monroe, and we will see you next time.